And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trading routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
We're live.
We're live. Oh, that's great news. I was just waiting for that. Took a sip of water. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to Coach's Playbook, the show where 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 traders get locked in a Zoom room until they find the true meaning of friendship. I'm Jack. Today, we're talking about a day in the life of a day trader. But before we get started, there was someone out there who has a trader shout out for us. Was it Hogue?
Yeah, I've got you. Today we have Juan Rios and Reed Bossy, both of them up over $1,300. Juan trading the NASDAQ and Reed trading the S&Ps. Nice trading, gentlemen.
Well, good job, both of them. So we've talked about similar topics before here as far as a day in the life of a trader, but I think that it probably requires more in depth because so much of what makes people successful at trading is, and you hear us say this ad nauseum, just follow your routine, have discipline, follow rules. But not all of that is merely what trade setups you take or how you manage your book. It also goes into kind of how you live your day, how you get ready to trade, and maybe more importantly, how you know when to stop and how you close it out, not your book, but your trading mind for at least a little bit each day so that you don't become, as we call in the biz, a miserable word I can't say. So maybe, Dan, since you're the one that suggested this, you could kick us off with a little bit about maybe not just what you do, but kind of what you've noticed among successful people you've known from the trading industry and what they do and how they approach their day.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been around this my whole life. And one of the biggest things I've taken away from it, watching other people, just kind of trying to learn from them without asking the question, is paying attention to what they're doing. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is, number one, the guys that are really successful, they're the ones that are there all day. They're working, but they're not necessarily trading, right? They're watching that market. They're involved in it. Very specific to that routine. I know we have a ton of content out there just about routines. We have a coach's playbook, or not a coach's playbook, the Funded Trader interview with Tanya. Tanya, I don't know if you're listening. She talks a lot about routine in that. And I think what she talks about is really impressive. And also, like, one of the biggest themes I noticed is traders recognizing when they're trading, when they're not trading, when they're doing well, when they're not doing well, and they're taking time off. I think, like, right now, part of this day in the life of a day trader, really, for me, it's middle of summer. It's 85 degrees outside. The sun's shining. It's really hard to sit at a desk all day when it's as nice as possible out. So getting outside and going to enjoy stuff, like, to me, the best part about day trading, you're not carrying these positions overnight. There's a button you can click to get flat. You can shut it down and you can go do something for yourself. Like, I play a ton of golf. Maybe that's for you. Maybe it's not. It is a stressful sport sometimes when you're not playing well, but finding that something that really can de-stress you really makes the day go a lot easier.
Yeah, with golf, you won't lose, $50,000 unless you're playing skins with Michael Jordan. Hogue, anything you want to initial thoughts to get started, and then I'll kind of do my spiel.
Well, sure. A lot of people have heard me say this before, but if you want consistency from the market, you're going to have to bring consistency to the market. I think the routine that you do in the morning is extremely important. Myself, I get up and do a 5-mile run.
Good for you.
Do you really, Hogue? That is
incredible.
Yes. It takes a whole year to run 5 miles. No,
You kept such a straight face there. I felt so bad when I laughed because, and I'm right with you. I don't do that, but yeah.
No, I get up. I like to putter for a little bit. I take a shower. I sit, have a cup of coffee, watch the news, read a little of the newspaper, and then I sit down and I engage in the markets. I'm going through charts for an hour and a half before the forecast. I got all my notes from the forecast and for my hypotheses and all the things that I'm doing every day. And I like to do it on paper. I know I kill trees, but I use both sides and I keep them and I review them and I look at them. So, I am deep in the markets before the crude oil opens up, even before gold opens up. I've been looking at it for an hour before that. And, I have a specific, outline that I remind myself of the things to look at, and because there's so much information coming at us, and when you're looking at 3 or 4 different markets, it just takes time, and find your outline, the things that you're looking at. How are you gonna look at the market through the same lens every day, and how are you going to find consistency by bringing consistency to the market? I think it's very important to have a routine. If it includes a 5-mile run or not, that's okay. Sometimes I take the dog out for a walk, but that's about it. But the routine that you do in the morning is of ultimate importance.
John, you're not the only one killing trees. Everything I've got going on, they're all dated to specifics. A lot of times I need multiple cards to track every little thing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. There's scientific basis in what Hogue is saying about if you bring consistency to the market, you need to bring consistency if you want consistency. And it's this: the reason we make way too many sports metaphors to trading is because they're both performance endeavors, right? When you're trading, when you're building strategies, you are running a scientific experiment all the time, and you need to control as many variables as possible. So that goes beyond the markets, right? You need to come in there each day with some sort of baseline, or at least understanding of how you feel, if that's a rating or something else, so that you can control for that with your trading. If you're keeping all hours of the night, you're burning it at both ends, you are an early 20s trader at one of the firms I worked with, you're not going to come in with the same game each day, right? You wouldn't do that. Who is the basketball player? I'm having a blank on the Knicks, who loved to chuck the ball. J.R. Smith, I think it was. I think it was J.R. Smith, where someone broke down the stats, and it was like he performed far, far worse on Saturday day games. And it was chalked up to sort of like, well, yeah, because
what was he doing Friday night?
You could cross-reference Instagram, but he's at the club Friday night, right? You got to take that into account when you're trading. If you don't have the right amount of sleep, if you're not eating what you usually do, and you don't have to be, you look at us, we're not Olympic athletes or anything close to it.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, everybody but Dan. You don't have to be Schwarzenegger or something like that. It's just that you have to be grounded in whatever your base step is. Like, I know a lot of traders who are not in great shape. I will say a lot of the great traders, because I think it attracts athletes because they have that sort of mentality of practice and results thing. There's a lot of very good traders out there who are former athletes, because I think that's what it comes down to. Routine is so important. So now, JD, after that, not really tangent, it's about the topic. What about you? How'd you go about
it? So, well, like you guys are saying, routine and balance are just key. I'll take you back to my early days in trading. I got a similar start as Hogue and Dan on the trading floor at the Chicago Board of Trade. And it consisted of a lot of routine before you even stepped on the floor, I'd ride my bike most days downtown. It was only like 3 or 4 miles, unless it was raining or snowing. But that was the first part, getting the blood pumping. We'd have our 6 o'clock team meeting upstairs. You're down on the floor at 6:45, checking out trades, making sure everything's balanced before you get in. Then you're plugging your gear in, firing everything up at 7 o'clock, 7:20 opening bell, 7:30 economic reports, 9 o'clock economic reports. Then you take a break at 10:30. Team would meet again. We'd sit around, have lunch or have food sent up to the office, talk about what happened in the morning. Then go back down at noon, trade the close, 2 o'clock bell, have another meeting from 2 to 3. And that was the day. It consisted of a lot of routine. And that was probably the hardest part for me initially to get into, was having that set schedule every day. Like trading almost seemed like secondary at some points, you're relying on paper coming into the pit. If it was slow, there was nothing to do. You're just kind of standing around, but you still needed to be there all day to get a trade, except for that hour or so that we just took a break to get something to eat. And I've tried to maintain that consistency throughout my entire career. Even though now I'll say the only thing harder than being a part-time trader now is being a full-time trader. And that's because now I am a part-time trader with a full-time job trading on the side, So instead of riding my bike to work in the morning, I have a stationary bike at home and I ride that for 20 minutes when I get up. I take the dog for a walk. I look at charts and stuff. I love trading that 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Time frame. I'm better at managing positions now than day trading. If I don't see a trade early in the morning, then I won't trade for the whole day. Otherwise, I'll just put something on early and then sort of manage it throughout the day. So keeping a routine, but also adjusting for, knowing when you need to make adjustments around the changes that you're making in your life, I think is very important.
Yeah. And I think since a lot of people out there who work with TopStep or are trading brokerage accounts on the retail side, most of you are part-time traders. And I think it's important, and this gets down to like just a strategy of it. It's important to keep a routine as far as the times you trade and things like that, because of course the market state is always shifting. And just because you can trade a different time doesn't mean you should. You got to find the time that works for you. And I think when people are part-time, there's more pressure because we always talk about the over trading. I only have an hour. I got to throw some trades on. I mean, if you're a professional trader, there is so much downtime. Good Lord. I worked overnight for 1.5 years trading treasuries overnight. And I don't want to even guess how many times I have watched the same crappy movies that were on TNT at 3 in the morning, because you're just sitting there mostly. Things are literally like, sometime if you want to know like the fun things I did in my early 20s, fire up the ZN at like 2 in the morning or something like that, or midnight or 7 a.m. on Thanksgiving, and stare at that for a while. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to trade it, is what I get to. There's a lot of downtime. It's about selecting the right spots and bringing consistency to both when you trade and how you feel when you start trading.
Yeah.
So.
One thing I will say, like, I'm probably the youngest here in the group, and I'm probably not the most consistent come my morning daily prep and all of that. There are times where I'm probably doing things I shouldn't do the night before. I live in a vacation town, and when people are up, nights get a little late. The one thing I will say that I have to do each and every morning, otherwise I'm going to be really out of sorts every single morning. The only thing I do is I work out, whether it's I go for a couple-mile run. I got the treadmill in the basement. If it's crappy out, I go to the gym. I have to do something like that. Market prep, if I have to, I can skip the open. The only thing that my day has to have is to start with getting the blood flow, getting a sweat in. And if it starts later, if I don't make it to the gym until 6:30 and I don't get home until 7:30 or 8, that's totally fine if I have to miss the first half hour of the open, because I'd rather get myself in the right frame of mind before I'm starting my trade. Don't get me wrong. Love being here at the desk at 8:30, watching that open and getting involved the first thing I see. But there are times where I have no problem admitting that I like to sleep in a little bit. But, as long as I stick to what I'm getting done each morning, I have to do those certain steps beforehand. And that came from a lesson I learned right when I got out of the Marine Corps. I used to wake up at 3:30 every morning, and So I got out of the Marine Corps. I took a month off of doing anything, and I learned how to sleep in till like 8 o'clock. And it was the greatest thing ever, sleeping in until 8 o'clock. And then I started trading again, and I was running late. Just slept right through an alarm. I had to be into the office at 5:30 every morning, and I lived a mile down LaSalle. So it was a 1 mile walk straight down LaSalle into the Board of Trade, and overslept only by about 20 minutes. And so I rushed in, and I was kind of frazzled, and they looked at me and said, I was like, all right, let's get going. Like, let's start the day. And they were like, absolutely not. You're getting on the call with Howard. You're going to go through the full hour prep this morning. And if you're late, you're late. And that's how it's going to be. And I had a great day that day. And it's like one thing that's really stuck with me is just doesn't matter if I oversleep. Don't let that frazzle me. Stick to what I'm supposed to. I know I have to do in the morning. And I know for myself, that's workout, that's do my prep, understand where this market's at, understand where the economy's at, what's going on in the news, getting through those checklists each and every morning. And if it means missing a little bit of trade, it's going to be worth it. Otherwise, you're going to be rushing from that first trade. You haven't slowed down from the time you rush to sit down. And so take your time. And if you miss something, you miss something. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, there's always another one. I mean, the market's going to be open again tomorrow and the day after that. And there's going to be some crazy ass move that happens this year. These aren't like, do I know this is going to happen? Am I clairvoyant? No, but it's going to happen because that's what happens every year, every month. There's going to be another opportunity for you. So don't beat yourself up on it. We were kind of fortunate because after I worked nights, I had night coverage. So I would luxuriously come into the office at about 7 a.m. because we just had to get ready for the 7:30 numbers, really.
You guys in the big firms, you had the cush life. We had over here in the small firms had a rotate night shift. You were picking up 1 or 2 nights a week and then trading during the day. I can't tell how many times I fell asleep at my desk chair in my apartment in the city.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done that too, but it was usually in the afternoon. I mean, it's sort of like one of those, there's no such thing as a free lunch. I mean, even when it literally comes to free lunches in this case, because like the place I was at would, have like catered breakfast and lunches every day and stuff like that. But when you get all those perks, they want something on the back end. So when you trade full time and you rely on your income, we've talked about this before, it becomes all the more stressful, and you really then got to go back to relying on routine. So whether you're doing this full time or picking and choosing when you can do it in between your other job, both those are great, but they both really require that you have the discipline to follow a routine with your trading and your lifestyle. So does anyone have anything to add on this before we round it up this week?
Yeah, I wanted to ask JD, when you were at the Board of Trade when you first started, right?
Correct.
Were you working with Eagle Market Makers?
No, I wasn't. I knew a lot of those guys though. It was Ronnie Manister's group, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of a funny story. When I bought a mid-am seat and I went over there for, I don't know, a year before I got hired at a prop firm at the Merc. And I did say somebody, Dad, who do I clear through? So he hooked me up with Ron Manister, and I sat in Ron Manister's office, and he said, why do you want to be a trader? I said, well, because I get other things I want to do. I want to be able to kind of come and go as I please and make a little money and go home or whatever. And he basically threw me out of his office. He was like, get out of here. He says, is that what you think this is? These are the hardest working people you're ever going to know. And you think you're going to walk in here and you're going to make a lot of money off them? Get out. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. He ended up clearing my stuff anyway, but it was kind of a funny story.
He always had a reputation for being a hard man. I believe he still is to this day in his 80s.
Let me tell you about these hard men, because they're all freaks in the best sort of way, because I too, I never was on the floor, but our office was in the same building. And you have to ride the elevator, the first 4 floors up to the pit. And it was like the Star Wars cantina, right? You just get on that elevator every morning, and it would just be the group of the, I don't want to go down too much, but we could do a whole episode sometime of stories like that. Who was the dude that was wandering around there in a cowboy hat?
Well, I bet you Ronnie's still wearing his bow ties. He always wore a bow tie.
Yes, he did for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, routine is important. What can we say, people? So, Dan, did you gather up a quote for us today to send us off?
I sure did.
See, he's in the routine of finding quotes for this. It's a good thing.
Right, I got it down. All right, so today's quote, it's an anonymous quote, but I kind of like it because it talks about what we were just talking about today. I think it kind of was silently reiterated multiple times, this idea of like, just because you're there doesn't mean it's actually trading. You're not always going to be in something. And so I kind of like this one. And it's learn to sit back and observe. Not everything needs a reaction. Just because the market is moving does not mean you have to just jump in on everything. So enjoy what we get to do here as day traders. And when you're struggling,
Yeah.
take some time. That's the key.
Guys, and expand Dan's advice there to just your entire life. It's okay to shut up about things sometimes. You don't have to react to everything. That's why I don't use social media. I can't deal with everyone's reaction at the same time.
Do you
Take some
mean
time.
do you mean that the beatings don't have to continue until the morale improves?
Yeah. That's a good point, Ho.
Somebody told me that years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's true. You got to, man, just know when to react, know when to chill. Ho, you want to take us home?
Sure. That's a great line. Know when to relax, know when to play. It's there's always another opportunity coming down the pipe. So be patient, wait for it, let the market come to you. And we'll see you in the pits.
Yeah. It's like Trader Valhalla. We'll see y'all in the pits. Until next week, this is Coach's Playbook. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode about something fun. I think we already know the topic. So hope to see you then. Trade well, everybody.